the next generation of warfare, psychological warfare. In modern conflict, the mind is a potent weapon. Discover General Michael T. Flynn's groundbreaking guide, A Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare. Unlock tactics, strategies, and the mindset to navigate this cognitive battlefield that we all find ourselves in. Equip yourself against manipulation and emerge unscathed. Unleash your potential. Order now.
How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the AlphaWarrior Show. It is April 28th, 2026. Tonight's going to be a fun show. You guys have been asking about this guy. No, forget it, man. This audience don't ask. You guys have been demanding this guy's return because that's what you guys are, a bunch of bullies out there. We want this alpha and we want it now. But I get it. You know, a bunch of alpha men and alpha women that are out there. And yes, we have returning guest Shawn Taylor, folks. We're going to get an update on some insights to Act Blue and these investigations going on. Then I got a couple other things I want to bring to Shawn's attention, see what he might have to say about that. This is not just a guest, folks. The guy on the screen is my friend, and I look forward to this conversation tonight. And I know you will too. Episode 543. So as we get into the ads here, do me a solid, folks. Smash the thumb, hit the heart, share it out. And Alpha, I already shared it out. Don't be lazy. Share it again. Come on, it's free. I'm just asking you to do something that you get the thumbs. Just put your thumbs, your fingers, touch your phone, touch the keyboard. Don't be lazy. Let's get this going. So with that, let's get to our first two ads, and then we'll get into the show.
Start today to reclaim your health with the Feel Great Protocol.
Feel Great Protocol, you guys, the M and Pet Club. All those links down in the description. And of course, we can't get this started without giving some love to Rumble, because Rumble gave us a platform to even have a voice. So with that, folks, the Rumble wallet. You'll see that QR code on the screen if you're watching on Rumble. They can freeze your accounts, shut off your cards, lock you out of your own money overnight. Banks don't protect you. They control you. That's why real financial freedom starts with ownership. Introducing Rumble Wallet, a non-custodial wallet built for people who refuse to give up control. With Rumble Wallet, you don't just buy digital currency like Bitcoin and Tether. You can own Tether Gold, real gold, on the blockchain. Through Tether Gold, you will get direct ownership of physical gold bars, each one fully allocated, verifiable by serial number, purity, and weight. This isn't paper gold. This isn't an IOU. This is real gold without bank vaults, storage fees, or gatekeepers. You can buy, sell, or move it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even when traditional gold markets are closed. And if you want, Tether Gold can be redeemed for physical gold. That's power. And when you support creators on Rumble, you can tip them directly using Rumble Wallet, peer-to-peer, and outside the banking system. No permissions, no middlemen, no cancel button. This wallet is yours forever. And if you're watching the replay, that link will be down in the description. With that, folks, let me welcome to the show retired Deputy Chief. Looking at a ghost. Shawn, can you hear me or see me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you're not on the screen. Hold on. Let me bounce you off and then bring you back on. Give me 1 second. Nope, still a ghost. How about we do this, Shawn? If you want to jump right back out and then jump back right back in, we'll see if that's
all right.
And I'll talk to my audience. I could see him in the studio. You guys just couldn't see him on the screen. So hopefully we will hammer that out. If not, we'll ad lib. I'll find a picture where Shawn looks pretty, put it on the screen, and then we'll listen to him, because the most important thing tonight is Shawn's voice. And we'll go from there. One of the things I want to talk to him about, you guys have seen a lot of people talking about Act Blue and these different investigations that are going on. You're seeing a lot of posts, which I'm happy about, addressing the fraud that's happening with Act Blue. You're hearing certain people talk about, did I make that payment? Because I don't remember making that one. Let's see, he's back in here. Let's give this one more shot. I see your pretty face. Can I hear your pretty voice?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
There you are. He sure do got a purty mouth.
I'm telling you, it's almost as nice as my Southern Alabama tan on my feet.
Welcome to the show, brother. It's good to have you back. You are in the top 2 for most requested guests, and I'm pretty sure you can guess who the other person is. Just to
I'm gonna
blow
say
you,
General Flynn.
100%, 100%. You and the general are the most requested guests that I have. So that definitely says that you are doing something right, brother.
But
Let me,
that's humbling. Let me tell you, and let me tell you, the Flynn family have been just absolutely great to me. I talk to Joe Flynn all the time, and recently been put in contact with some of the people around Mary Flynn, and of course, they're just salt of the earth, great people. They really are.
Absolutely. I would definitely sign and put my name behind that 100%. Let me recap. So this audience has grown since the last time you were here, Shawn. We must be doing the Lord's work or something, because it is
Amen.
like, let's go listen to this crayon eater for a while. But they're here, and that's the part that's important, because you have information that these people need to hear. And then again, people need to follow you to keep updated on the work. So just kind of recap, how did me and Shawn even come together to even meet? We were on a joint roundtable a few years ago with some other voices some of you guys would probably recognize, like Jaco and Scott McKay, and others. As a matter of fact, rest in peace now. Scott was on there.
Yeah.
Just a whole lot. And I remember right out of the gate during that show, I was like, I like this guy. He did the cop stuff. I did the cop stuff. He did it in the narc world. I did in the gang world. You know when someone's cut from the same cloth as you. So me and Shawn got to talking. There's some investigation stuff that we're doing that seemed to be kind of running parallel and intersecting each other. And so we got to talking. I said, hey, let's do a show and talk about some of the stuff we do. And it took off like fire, folks. You guys loved it. It got the attention of people like Rachel Maddow, got the attention of, someone else that I'll be bringing up later. But it definitely caught mainstream attention. They did not like what we were talking about. And during the course of all this, things started to escalate. Shawn's home got shot at. The infrastructure that provides internet into my home was absolutely vandalized. Nobody else's was, just mine. And both those things happened within 30 hours of each other. And so I looked to Shawn and said, hey, if we got to slow down, I'm up for slowing down. And this man was like, no, let's turn the throttle a little bit more.
Yeah.
So being guys that don't typically think about perseverance, we continue to throttle full ahead. And then some other things would happen in Shawn's life. By the glory of God, he'd get back into law enforcement, where he would then start to go into more investigations that would lead down to the TBI weaponizing their ability to do government, to come after some things that that Shawn was talking about and bringing to the attention of this show. And things just kept going. And all these investigations all seem to, at some point, have connections to each other, which brings us into the world of Act Blue. Can you kind of set the foundation there? I gave everybody the history, told them the love story, Shawn. And so now, if you can kind of set the foundation, what when we say Act Blue, what are we talking about here?
So with Act Blue, what we're looking at the money remitter. We're looking at the machine that's moving the funds for all of these nonprofits, NGOs, and stuff like that. That is basically causing the color revolution that we're in right now. That are putting, all of these people that was like Antifa out there that are basically weaponizing the people like we saw try to attack President Trump again. You got the George Soros, you had the Mark Elias people, all of them. All of this is money that's flowing through their systems, the Democracy Forward, all of that. So Act Blue is a money remitter for a lot of them. The donations go through Act Blue. And, before Act Blue was there, the politicians had to have dinners where they would sell, $5,000 tickets to go to a dinner. And that's how they raised money. And, one of the big ways that they could raise money was through PayPal. That was the only real electronic way to do it. So what happened is the people with Act Blue got together and put together a platform to be able to move money very easily by signing up on their platform and being able to make donations. Well, what they ended up doing is they created it to be like a Rolodex. When people hit certain, it was like an algorithm that was hit. is when people were, certain types of jobs, certain ages, giving through ActBlue, those identities were stolen. And then those identities were used to move illicit funds into political PACs, nonprofits, NGOs, and things like that. And so what we've been doing is we've been investigating that. We've seen large mortgages on people like Regina Jones Wallace, who was the CEO who stepped down on her home in Texas and her home in California that was worth millions. They had illegal mortgages on them in the millions, tens of millions of dollars on homes that were, less than $1 million actually net worth, what they were worth. And they were also ActBlue operating locations. And we found that with several people that were officers of ActBlue. So we started investigating that. And what we ended up finding is we have money that's not only coming in from overseas, but it's starting to look like, some of the money that was in being run through USAID may have been utilized through some of these nonprofits and NGOs. So basically, it was our money that was stolen out of the reserves and put into the ActBlue platform and sent to a lot of these different people illegally. And so, we've been investigating that. We've been dealing with that. We've been meeting with state attorney generals, U.S. attorneys, and we've been to a Maine Justice, DOJ, and all of that. We've handed over a lot of that information. We've handed information over on some other things that me and Alpha have talked about, but we're not going to get into here. Things are progressively moving forward.
Now, when we're talking, dollar amounts being moved, are we talking about just people just trying to take stuff off the top to line their pockets? Or are we talking like significant money, like things that create entities, things that move elections, things like how serious are we talking about when we're talking like dollar amounts?
We're talking, I'll give you an example. 5 people that we identified that are victims of ActBlue smurfing. Those 5 victims gave between 1 and 2 million to ActBlue, and nobody, where did the money come from? So just in 5 people that are unemployed, that are elderly, over, between $1 and $2 million, that's a lot of money. And that's just in one state. So we've picked the top 100 in that state, and we're digging in on that and trying to determine. But when you talk about this in totality, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that are being moved through that platform, and they haven't given up where the money's coming from. That's why ActBlue has taken the fifth, 140 sometimes in the congressional hearing that's going on right now. So we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that's, I believe, has been moved through ActBlue illegally.
How long has this been going on, do you suspect?
2004 is when we identified it, going back when it was built. And the thing is now that they're under investigation, is they have 2 other companies that they've bought. And if you remember during COVID and the whole, fake the fake pandemic, what they did is they didn't want us being able to hand money back and forth, right? So they wanted everybody to use electronic forms of payment. And then they would have you round up your change to the nearest dollar. Well, one of the platforms that ActBlue is dealing with right now or has bought is doing the exact same thing. So, there's going to be, they're looking at different ways to continue everything. And because they're moving into a new platform, so to speak. So now that's going to be us chasing that information on how that works, because you got to remember, every time you swipe your card, it's not only taking your card information, it's taking your personal information, and they're going to be able to put that with the FEC website on the donations that are coming in.
How hard is it going to be to prove this?
It's not. It's easy. Everybody's wanting to look at this from, all these federal charges and RICO and stuff like that. Bullshit. Keep it simple, stupid. That's it. We're street cops, man. Keep it simple. Let me get the simplest thing that I can hit this dude on that he can't get away from. That's what we do. So what we're going to attack it as is we're attacking it as identity theft is the number one. And we believe it's going to be under aggravated identity theft, because we've got one person we're looking at right now, and their name was used over 35,000 times to make donations. 35,000 times they used this one person's identity. Okay. And So that's 35,000 separate counts. That's 35,000 separate counts of identity theft. But what we're also finding is they are all elderly. So then that's going to be 35,000 counts of elder abuse for ActBlue taking just one person's identity and making 35,000 contributions in their name. So think about that. That's 70,000 felony counts off of one individual that they stole their identity. So you keep it simple. Yeah, is there wire fraud in this? Absolutely. Are there all kinds of other violations? Yes, there are. But the simplest thing to get through to a jury is identity theft, and people prey on our elderly. That's not okay. They're some of the most vulnerable in our society, and people need to understand that. And, no, you don't take, Florida, if you push an elderly person, that's a felony. Okay. And here they are, this is elder abuse 100%. So, let's keep it
in a lot of states, especially like the one I'm in California, you'll get more time for the elderly abuse charge than you will the original charge.
Yes. So that's where we're like, let's keep it simple and just go after that and hammer it that way. So one of the new things that we're going to be putting out here in the next few days is we're doing a video, and it's going to be about a 1 or 2 minute video we're going to put out on social media. Our X platform seems to be really good, so we're going to be putting it on X and trying to get everybody to share it. But basically what we're going to be asking people to do is, are you or your parents or your grandparents a victim of identity theft? Identity theft, of course, is one of the largest or most growing crimes in the United States right now. And so what we want to do is let's find out if you're a victim, your family member's a victim, or whatever. Show people how to go to the FEC website, how to look up the name that they're looking for the parent, the grandparent, who legitimately may have given, out of the kindness of their heart, when we had all the stuff happening with Black Lives Matter and all of that stuff. But what that was a psyop. That was a psyop on our country, trying to pull at the heartstrings to be able to raise as much money as they could. But it really wasn't about the money. I mean, that was the secondary part. The main part of that was to be able to create that Rolodex of names of the people who contributed the money. Okay, that because ActBlue was a money remitter that moved the money for Black Lives Matter. So, some of these people that are really good people, that are solid people, gave money to Black Lives Matter, and then you had ActBlue put their name in the Rolodex because it met the standards that they needed to be able to commit the identity theft that they're doing for the smurfing. So what we're going to do is we're going to be showing people how to be able to look up the FEC, their family and the loved ones, and their name in the FEC website, determine if they are a victim of identity theft or elder abuse or anything else by ActBlue. And then for them to be able to contact us, and we've set up a new email address for that. And it's very simple. It's actbluefraud@gmail.com. And if, you're a victim, your family member's a victim, give us a screenshot of where it is. And then we're going to send you back about a 5-point questionnaire, ask you to fill that out. And then we're going to separate that by state. And once we start getting the information state by state by state, we're going to be visiting those U.S. attorneys and presenting the case and doing referrals.
Now, I have a question, but I want to make sure that the audience is up to speed. Use the word right now. And for those that have probably been active in the social media world, they probably heard, and that's that word smurfing. If you can just give us the dummies version of what that means.
Basically, somebody's taking your identity, stolen identity, and they're making contributions, hundreds, if not like thousands of contributions in your name illegitimately. That's it. It's identity theft. They're taking your information, making it their own so they can make illegal contributions and move illegal money.
And I wanted to ask you that before this next question. So, just the detective hat on me says, okay, how does ActBlue not pick up these types of anomalies? I mean, I would have to think that if whether I contracted someone out to build this software, or whether I bought this software, whatever the case may be, once I got this software in my hands and I'm utilizing it, I would think that this is something that if all of a sudden we're only 8 years, well, forget, I'll even say 10 years, 12 years, and a name or an ID, however this data is used to reference a single person, populates over 10,000 times, 20,000 times. How do they not see that themselves?
Well, that's why they took the fifth, is because they knew it was happening. They were doing this on purpose, which, by them taking the fifth, it told us everything we need to know. They didn't want to discuss it because they were complicit. They had to continue that money train moving. So they're the ones who built this. They're the ones who put the algorithm in there to be able to make this happen. So that's why they pleaded the fifth. They knew. They had knowledge of.
And has anybody from Act Blue, whether it be representatives, whether it be an attorney's firm, has anyone reached out to you or your team to say, hey,
No.
Cease and desist. You can't be saying this because it's not true. No pressure.
Nothing.
That's a big deal right there.
Well, if they were to file a lawsuit against me, that would be an undoing for them, because that would open them up for discovery. And then what does that do? It allows me to have all of their records. So that's the worst thing I can do.
So there's no way out for them on this then.
No, there's not. And, again, I think if we just keep it simple and just do it that way, of course, I can sit there and say we've got with one individual, we've got 35,000 counts of elder abuse, 35,000 counts of identity theft. But of course, we know that the court will not sit there and listen to each and every one of those 35,000 counts of each. So, what they're going to do is they're going to put that in a bag, and they're going to, to me, this is right up the Fed's alley, because the Feds love to stack charges to be able to get the person to proffer and just plead guilty. That's going to be the biggest thing that's going to happen. And, we've got that happening. We had businesses right now, you got the Southern Poverty Law Center that just got popped and indicted. And I think you're going to start seeing a lot of that. I was talking to some people the other day and said, as these people have their backs put against the wall, you're going to start seeing more lone wolf attacks like we saw against President Trump the other day. And that's what's going to happen. And people need to keep their head on a swivel. I mean, in a major way.
I agree with you. If I was one of these people and I worked at Act Blue or even actively working at Act Blue, I just want to remind you guys of something that Scott Bezant said. I want to say it was this past week or maybe the week before. But up to 30%, if you're a whistleblower and you come forward, and of course there's stipulations there that probably lead to an arrest or conviction or something like that, but you can receive up to 30% of the identified fraud. So if we're talking numbers like this at Act Blue, folks, and you're over there and you're aware of it, one, secure yourself as a witness instead of a suspect, and probably get some change out of there, because the first ones to do it are going to be the ones that get the paperwork. Everybody else is they're gonna be begging and fighting for pleas. So I just want to remind everybody, there's some encouragement there to be a snitch, aka whistleblower. That's there. Let me ask you this, Shawn. And don't reveal anything that you can't, but in the course of this investigation, have you seen any other type of things that have caught your attention, potential crimes? Like, I know for a while you were looking into the mortgage fraud. Are you seeing any of these same players that names seem to keep popping up in other matters of alleged possible corruption or criminality?
Oh, absolutely. We have. It's amazing. You guys have all seen my I2 charts that I put together, where it's showing the correlation and the people and things like that in common to different things. And we're finding it's amazing the things we're uncovering with that. And especially with the new programs that are out there and things like that we're utilizing, is it's bringing stuff together we were not expecting to see. We've got the voter fraud that's involved in this. We have the election fraud that's involved in this. We have the money laundering that's involved in this. We've got the mortgage fraud that's involved in this. And all of this is funding a lot of the same thing. This is just that money is making a circle. It's just making a circle through all of these different things. And it's a lot of it's the same players. A lot of it's the same players. And, one of the players that got you and I really talking was Al Gore. And here Al Gore was on TV today talking about, the Gulf Stream or something's going to disappear and we're going to go into an ice age. I was like, wait a second, what the hell happened to global warming? So I don't know if he bought, stock in Burlington Coat Factory and everybody's going to get cold or something, but something's happening. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of the same players, a lot of the same political PACs, a lot of the same NGOs, a lot of the same nonprofits, a lot of the same countries. A lot of this stuff jumps off into other countries and things like that. We're seeing a lot of the same banks, where a lot of these places are banking at the same banks, and that there's a reason for that. You got Toronto Dominion, you have Bank of Montreal, you have the Royal Bank of Canada, you got Goldman Sachs, and all of that. And what we're seeing is these banks are central. They're key to all of this stuff that's happening. And if anybody can look it up, just Google it. Google the banks that I just stated and ask about FinCEN and if these banks have been fined anywhere in the past 5 to 10 years. And you're going to find out that a lot of these banks weren't reporting to FinCEN and have been fined hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars for failure to report to FinCEN.
This is wild. So this is, and I understand people have the right to ask this question, with all this years of research, with all this years of developing this information and finding this evidence, why hasn't anybody been arrested, Shawn? That's the first part of the question. The second part, or I'll say the second question is, without revealing the people you work with and the people you communicate with, what level of confidence do you have in the current administration that first question is going to get answered?
So the first question, that is already happening. We're already starting to see indictments and things like that. We saw the stuff on Fauci's guy coming down for indictments. We have the Southern Poverty Law Center had indictments. We've got more indictments. There's indictments that are actually happening across the United States. A lot of it just isn't publicized, or they're sealed indictments and they haven't made the arrests yet because maybe the person's proffered, whatever. So there's a lot of stuff that's already happening and already moving. We've got too much chatter that's going on in the social media, in any media for that fact. There's too much chatter going on for there not to be more coming. And I think you're going to start seeing over the month of May and June, you're going to see major indictments coming forward. And what that is that's going to be a celebration of our 250th anniversary of this country. And what that's going to do is it's going to show a second coming, if you will. It's going to return this country to we the people. That's why I'm wearing my shirt, baby. That's it. This is our year. This is we the people. It's our year, and it's going to happen. It's already started to happen. The dam's leaking and it's fixing to bust. And people just people want to know why it's taking so long. Well, when you're dealing with like Act Blue, where you got one person that's got 35,000 times that their name's been used. How many people have donated through Act Blue? How many people have had their identity stolen? And, let's say there's 100,000 people that had their identity stolen. And each one of them had between 10,000 and 35,000 times that their name was used through Act Blue. Think about all of that. Trying to be an agent, trying to take care of your daily stuff, and then trying to gather that. So I think it's coming. The second part of your question, I know it's coming. It just is, and that's all I'll say on that.
100%. You mentioned an organization in there, and let me shift gears here on this. You brought up SPLC, Southern Poverty Law Center, and for those that have been watching at least my show, if not tuned into social media or the news, you have a numerous amount of indictments that came down on the Southern Poverty Law Center. Todd Blanche has made some statements about it. The director of the FBI, Kash Patel, has made some statements about that. And now the citizen journalist world is just going to town in trying to pull out connections that may be out there. And right out of the gate, one of the first ones that kind of caught my attention is there was this group of people known as the sedition hunters that were trying to give a lot of people in the J6 community or J6 adjacent community trying to destroy their worlds. It went beyond just social media. For those that don't know, these people actively went into the communities where these people lived and were talking to store owners, shop owners, local post offices to track down these January 6th defendants or alleged defendants. That's how bad these were. Well, something like that isn't just something that's grassroots that just sprouts out of the ground that fast. That's not the way it works. So I knew right out of the gate, this is something that is being funded. This is a formal operation, whether it's hidden or shell companies, this exists. And so I start going and jumping into these spaces of these people that are threatening us, because that's, the way I'm like you. That's just the way we operate. I'll go into the lion's den and then cut my skin to bring attention to myself. Like that's the way we operate. And I did that. And I started to see certain people that were there that had connections to other people, or I saw that they constantly reference other organizations. And I saw that this pattern. And one of the things that I saw there was the Lincoln Project. And I was like, this is interesting. And I noticed, why did these people always keep referencing them? So we start looking into them. I start seeing okay, this is definitely seems like something that could be involved here. And then, to bring us to present day, when I see this conversation surrounding Southern Poverty Law Center, I was like, I wonder if there may be any connection from Southern Poverty Law Center into the Lincoln Project. And lo and behold, within the last few years, I see that they were on the same side of a litigation with attorneys and stuff like that. And I said, that's very interesting. And then if you keep on digging, Shawn, this is definitely going to get your ears perking if you're not aware of it already. I notice that there's a certain guy that came after you and and me, since I happen to be your friend and did some shows with you. People know him as Phil Williams from NC5 News out there in Tennessee. Yeah. And I said, look at this guy. Why is he so proactive in defending the Southern Poverty Law Center right now? Which would lead you into other organizations like Midas Touch, and things like that. And so I was like, could it be? So Shawn, what comments do you have to any of the stuff that I just put out in front of you right now?
It's funny because they put us under Hate Comes to Main Street with the title, where Phil Williams was reporting on Nazi activity that apparently, of course, it looks like Southern Poverty Law Center has been paying for that all along. And, he put us under that Hate Comes to Main Street, not knowing what our background is. And I'm not going to get into our background and what our family makeups are, but it's going to be, when it's revealed, it's going to be extremely amusing to us that we were put under Hate Comes to Main Street. That's going to be very amusing. But, you have people, and it's like we've always said, is he's not a reporter. He's a political activist. And he was out there trying to spread a narrative and create news, basically on stuff that was not news. And then we find out that the Southern Poverty Law Center, of course, is paying, these Nazis or Klan or whatever they are to, be the story. They're paying them to be the story. So, you got the Democrats who created the Klan and all of that stuff. And here they are, still funding them. So I find that, that's sick. These people are, I believe they have, they're not wired right. Like, I don't know what happened to them, but they really need some counseling or something. I mean, because, it's sad. It's sad that they do this and they attack people that haven't done anything. And then they try to brand them. And, that cost us a lot of problems. A lot of problems. And I'm really happy. This is God. God just he brings everything to light. My grandmother used to say, "Son, everything comes out in the wash." Well, guess what? It's coming out. And we filed a lawsuit against Phil, and we filed a lawsuit against News Channel 5. We filed a lawsuit against eScripts, and we also filed a lawsuit against the city commissioners that were working with Phil Williams. And we've also filed a lawsuit against the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation in federal court. And so, it's going to be very interesting what comes of that. It's going to be really interesting to see what comes of that.
Yeah, it's funny because you were on my mind recently because I had to go to an event in Tennessee, and I was like, well, I definitely know I triggered TBI's alerts. It's about the only place in the United States right now that I gotta be concerned because they know I'm one of Shawn's friends. So definitely,
yeah. If you're in Nashville, they just put the mayor of Nashville under federal investigation.
I did not know that.
Yeah. it was announced today that that he's been put under federal investigation for aiding and abetting illegals. Yep.
Very interesting. You know, while I was down there, I did go by the old AT&T building that took that explosion. I think Christmas morning or Christmas Eve.
Yep, Christmas. Yep.
And you know, I just wanted to see what it looked like, and to my amazement, that thing's still destroyed.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's still
it's blocked off. You know, they I mean, you can walk right up to the gate or the fence.
Yeah.
But I was looking at the, you know, massive amount of damage, you know, and I was trying to revisualize in my head kind of like where the RV was. And, you know, that's, for those of you who don't remember, it was that RV that was parked in the late evening hours, early morning hours, whatever you want to consider it. Had the loudspeaker saying everybody evacuate the area. It was a woman's voice, and apparently the guy self-detonated in there is at least the story as it was reported, and created massive amounts of damage to that AT&T building, which is a whole entire show in of itself once you start to realize some information surrounding possible servers and data that was housed there. But nonetheless, it got me to thinking. So to bring us back to this, but you know the way I am, squirrel, bro, I go off on these tangents.
You and I both, brother.
But to bring us back to the Southern Poverty Law Center and these indictments that just came down from the DOJ, we see today that there's an indictment that comes out of Eastern North Carolina, followed up with an actual arrest warrant for James Comey. You got two charges there. One with the, you know, for the shells of the 8647, and then count 2 for the intercommerce transportation, which is essentially posting it. You see all this stuff. What does that kind of give you as far as your internal, you know, compass and clock as to when we're going to probably see something coming down with Act Blue?
You know, Act Blue, I think there's stuff that's happening. I can't get into a whole lot of that right now. It's coming. That's what I'll say. That's coming. But I think we have, I think that there's been some disruption that's happened in that money flow, which is going to assist in helping dismantle all of that. So I'll put it that way. I'll say it looks like there's disruption that's happened, which is causing to be able to be dismantled. But, you know, we have these indictments that are coming down, and, you know, you got the guy who was with Fauci, who's been indicted as well. You know, you have Grassley and was it Ron Johnson doing the stuff against Jack Johnson. And, you know, one of the people that I love to death is Ivan Raiklin, and because he's just been hammering that, man. He's been hammering it. And, you know, we've talked about this, I think, before, where Jack Smith and the Arctic Frost investigation was literally targeting one of my close friends, Mark Fincham, the senator out of Arizona. And, you know, I do stuff for Mark and his EFI, the Election Fairness Institute. I'm one of their main researchers to gather stuff. And, you know, I'm literally holding in my hand a congressional subpoena right now, where Grassley and them are literally investigating what happened. And I can't wait for the whole thing on Jack Smith to come out, because when that comes out and that goes down, that's going to reach within the heart of a lot of the stuff that happened illegally. And whether it's Tina Peters, whether it was General Flynn, whether it's Mark Fincham, and Grassley, all of these people were all victims of, you know, the Biden administration basically becoming the KGB. And I think when that one falls, we're going to see some things happen here in the United States that we haven't seen happen in decades. They didn't bring back the firing squad for no reason.
No, they didn't. Let me present a theory for you, and it's just a theory. Because it's the question I get the most from my audience, or just people in general, is the timing. And I've always told everybody timing is critical. We get one shot. At getting this right. Outside of this moving to a level that I don't think any of us want to see. So timing's everything. And so when we talk about this is information war, this is, you know, it's irregular warfare, as a general would say, unrestricted warfare that's out there. And I look at, if I was the person that was doing this tactical operation right now, you know, granted having the added bonus of hindsight's 2020 and what we've seen, in this new administration, why do I think that it's now starting to happen where it is and why? And one of the theories I have, and I like to get your thoughts on this, Shawn, is we're now in that very short window to midterms. Very, very short window. And what I see is I see the good guys, whatever name people want to give them, whether you want to call it the administration, the white hats, military intelligence, whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to say the good guys. What I see the good guys doing right now is putting this deep state apparatus, this mechanism that exists, this shadow government, whatever you want to call them. I'm just going to say the bad guys, but it's putting the bad guys into a situation where they're overwhelmed. We know that they have thousands of attorneys because they deploy it every time something happens. Something happens with Antifa in this state, there's 100 attorneys that are there. There's literally people there, and I know this from talking to my other brother, brother, I'm fired up, Shad Caton. Literally people there wearing these vests that are law watchers. They're sitting there to see which people on our side, law enforcement or civilian, violate potential laws to try to get these people in trouble. Yep. So this is what this deep state mechanism has. And so what I see is if you get Trump's administration to come after the Southern Poverty Center, to come after Act Blue, who knows, maybe even win red, come after all these institutions, USAID, the National Endowment for Democracy. You start coming, all of a sudden, Eric Swalwell's looked at for what's going on. All of a sudden, we hear that, hey, we're going to go back into these emails with Hillary Clinton. You start boom, 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 boom. All these folders start landing on people's desks. Well, as many attorneys as they have, they don't have an unlimited supply. Sure. So this forces the bad guys to now start to triage the problems they have because they can't address them all. And we all could probably speculate they're going to triage their big dogs. That's who they're going to try to protect, which leaves the low-hanging fruit to be like, well, if you're going to leave me out to dry and this comes into the realm of the world me and you work, well, I'm going to talk. I'm going to secure me a deal. You're going to protect him so I can go for 20, 30 years? Nah. How about I just snitch on everything I know and I'll walk away with 3 to 5 or maybe even probation? And I see that as probably why this choke point of time's happening. What do you think?
So, before you go into battle, you have to set the battlefield. It's like when we did ops and law enforcement, you did a matrix to find out what, your threat assessment and this and that. So you have to set your battlefield. You have to get your intel. I think that's what the first year of the administration is gathering all the intel, gathering all the information, getting subpoenas out and things like that. And then now that the subpoenaed information has been returned, now we're actually going to go into battle. Now you're starting to see some of the first shots being fired, some of the first skirmishes, because we're pushing back and forth. And what we're doing is we're basically probing. We're testing each other's back and forth on how they're going to react and how we're going to react. And so it's a back and forth. And then all of a sudden the bombs are going to start dropping. And boy, when those bombs start dropping, that's when it's going to get real. And when I talk about bombs dropping, what I'm talking about is all of a sudden the FBI goes and raids, somebody's home. And I'm talking like a very high level official's home, raids their home and arrests them on an indictment. And so I think those are the things you're going to start seeing happening. And then all of a sudden there's going to be complete discourse among the liberal Democrats, and they're not going to know what to do. Because, you got to remember, it's only a few of the liberal Democrats that are holding the rest of the Democratic Party hostage, right? That's what's happening. They're basically holding some pretty good people possibly over on the Democratic side. They're holding them hostage, saying, you can't do that. You can't do that. And so you're going to start seeing some very key individuals that were in office and are in office. I think you're going to start seeing them getting hit and indicted. And because I think we've done enough testing back and forth to see how they're going to react. And I think you're going to start seeing some of their attorneys actually being arrested and indicted and arrested and having to stand trial. And, I don't think it's going to be necessarily that people are going to flip because they don't want to do 30 years. I think they're going to flip because they don't want to die. They don't want to face the firing squad. They brought the firing squad back for a reason. This is sedition and this is treason, which is punishable by death. And, if these people are going to be fighting for their lives, and you're going to have a lot of people flipping and to try to stay alive.
Music to my ears.
Yes.
Listen, I have no room for compassion for these people for what they subjected, not just our country, but I would say all of humanity. So,
Yes.
God can have mercy on them. I don't have to.
Right.
Shawn, we're approaching the top of the hour to land this. It's good to have a conversation with you, brother, on the
You
camera
too, man.
again.
I've missed you. It's about time for us to go fishing.
It is. It is. Analog radio. I still want to hear the
I've
static.
already been looking for them.
I want that antenna that, damn it, Shawn, he threw it behind the truck and it bent.
Yeah.
It's all right. It works, right? You're laughing.
I may have some old cassettes laying around that we can put the pencil in and bring the tape back in.
You know exactly what kind of radio I'm talking about, man. There ain't gonna be no phones, no watches, no nothing. Shawn, let the folks know what you're working on as far as you can share it. For those that want to support you, whether it's through prayer, whether it's through messaging, or whether it's monetary, let them know how they can do it, and we'll get out of here.
So basically, we're going to continue working on the Act Blue. We're going to continue working on the mortgage fraud, the corruption with the election fraud, and the voter fraud. We've got a lot of that's still happening. We actually have 100% proof and evidence to be able to bring indictments on some of the people right now. And we're going to be handing that over to the DOJ here shortly. So those are the key things we're working on. We're going to be traveling around the United States and hitting some key spots and doing that. If people want to reach out, the biggest thing you can do is hit us up at our X account, and that's at FTG Solutions LLC. Or you can hit us up at conspiracycop.com, and there's some of the older videos that Alpha and I have done that are posted there, and it'll kind of tell you a little bit about my background and things like that. If you do want to donate, there's a link there at the conspiracycop.com website, and you can hit the donate button and go donate. That's the money that helps fund us to be able to go to DC, Texas, Florida, and all these other states that we're going to. Heck, we hit 9 states literally in like 3 days in 1 week. So that costs money. And so any donations, you can give would help. But the biggest thing of all is prayer. People don't understand the power of prayer, especially when we pray together for the same thing. And we got to pray for our president. We have to pray for this administration. We have to pray for this world and take out these corrupt, dirty people, this cabal that's been basically trying to keep humanity down. And so we need to power through prayer. Everybody needs to spend some time praying and really searching your soul on, what would Jesus do?
I like the part where he flipped tables.
You do. I think we're coming to that part shortly.
I want to let the audience know, whether you're watching live right now or you're watching the replay later, you guys know how hard I work. You guys compliment me all the time, and I appreciate that. If you ask me who's somebody that works harder and more than me, I would 100% point to this guy. He's too humble to tell you guys, but I will tell you guys, this man's life's been in danger. His family's life has been in danger. His family's life has taken a toll with this. Yeah. I know the stresses that he'll never talk about that he's gone through. It's, if you're someone who is living comfortably, and I'm talking financially, help this man out. Help this man and his family out. That would mean a lot to me, not just him. This man is a real fighter, folks, and we joke about fishing in our radio because me and Shawn are exhausted. We are exhausted, but we won't stop. We won't stop until this war has been won. But this war has also come at a lot of costs for us personally, and our families have had a share in that cost. So if you guys have the ability to alleviate some of that pressure, I would say please go visit conspiracycop.com and donate whatever you have the ability to do. I will catch you on the next one, brother. You guys, DEFCON 0 coming up in about 30 minutes over there on Badlands. Make sure you tune into that. I'm going to go grab me a bite to eat. And then I will see you guys over there. Brother, stay safe. Keep your head down.
You too, brother.
Keep on fighting. So if you guys want to get healthy, you want to get some of these bad boys on you, maybe go and buy some of this. I'll see you guys in a little bit.